Namaste, and welcome to the AI Samachar.
Arr.
It's January 23rd, 2025.
The 23rd.
You know, it's not just any other Wednesday.
Not just any other Wednesday, no.
Today marks the 128th birth anniversary of Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose.
Absolutely.
A true
True.
icon of India's freedom struggle.
Absolutely. And, you know, his legacy of courage and unwavering determination continues to inspire us.
Absolutely.
Even as we delve into a day filled with news that's, well, let's just say a mixed bag.
Yeah, it's a real mixed bag today.
We've got tragic train accidents, political maneuvering in Delhi, rumblings in the global economy, and even some triumphs on the sporting field.
Yeah, you know, it's a lot to unpack.
It is.
That's for sure.
It is.
But that's exactly why we're here.
Exactly.
To help you navigate through it all, connect the dots, and maybe uncover some surprising insights along the way.
I think you could think of it as your shortcut to understanding not just what happened, but why it matters.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's start with a story that's truly heartbreaking.
Yeah.
A train accident in Jalgaon, Maharashtra has left 13 people dead after rumors of a fire on board led to a chaotic situation.
Oh, it's just awful. You can imagine the fear and confusion as passengers hearing shouts of fire made the desperate decision to jump from the moving train only to be hit by another train on an adjacent track.
Oh my goodness.
It really underscores the devastating consequences misinformation can have, especially in a moment of crisis.
Absolutely. It's a stark reminder of how quickly things can go wrong and how crucial clear communication is in these situations.
It really is.
Now, shifting gears to Delhi, where the political scene is heating up ahead of the assembly elections.
Right.
Scheduled for February 5th, the Aam Aadmi Party, or AAP, is trying to counter anti-incumbency sentiment by showcasing their work in Punjab.
It's a bold strategy.
It is a bold strategy.
Considering their mixed performance in recent Lok Sabha and Assembly by-polls, they're essentially saying, look, we may not have gotten everything right, but here's what we've achieved in Punjab. Give us another chance in Delhi. It's a risky move.
It is.
But, you know, politics is a game of risk.
It is.
And the AAP is known for taking those risks.
That's true. But the Congress Party isn't letting them off the hook so easily. They're hitting hard on the issue of India's economic slowdown.
Of course.
Pointing to sluggish GDP growth and limited job creation.
Which is fair.
Yeah.
It's a legitimate concern.
Absolutely. And it's not just political rhetoric.
Right.
You've got global factors at play as well. The U.S. dollar is strengthening, growth projections are subdued worldwide, and the impact of those U.S. sanctions on Russian oil is still unfolding.
Yeah, you've got this whole combination of factors.
Yeah, it paints a rather uncertain picture.
It does.
For India's economy.
Yeah.
Speaking of uncertainty, this economic anxiety is fueling a debate about the Beti Padhao scheme, a flagship program aimed at improving the lives of girls in India.
It's a program with really noble intentions.
It is.
But its effectiveness is being questioned.
And it is.
The Prime Minister claims it's made significant strides in overcoming gender bias, especially in districts with historically low child sex ratios.
Right. But the Congress argues that a large chunk of the funds went into media blitzkrieg rather than real on-the-ground initiatives. And let's not forget, the recent National Family Health Survey, or NFHS-5, revealed some pretty sobering statistics about the persistence of son preference and high dropout rates for girls.
Yeah. You know, this just highlights the deep-rooted nature of gender inequality in India and how it requires a multifaceted and sustained approach to really tackle it.
Absolutely. It's going to take a lot more than just catchy slogans and awareness campaigns.
Yeah, it has to be more than just window dressing.
Absolutely. All right, we'll delve deeper into these complexities in just a bit. But first, let's zoom out to the international arena where things are getting a bit tense, to say the least.
A little tense.
Donald Trump is back in the White House for his second term, and his America First approach is sending shockwaves through the global trading system.
He's not wasting any time. He's already threatened to slap tariffs on both the European Union and China, citing trade imbalances and concerns over fentanyl trafficking.
Oh, wow. So China, unsurprisingly, is warning against a trade war, while the EU is signaling a willingness to defend its interests.
Yeah.
It feels like we're on the brink of a major trade war, and India, already facing economic headwinds, could get caught in the crossfire.
Absolutely. A strong U.S. dollar, a sluggish global economy, and the uncertainties surrounding those Russian oil sanctions.
Yeah.
It's a lot for India's policymakers to juggle.
Absolutely. It's a reminder that even though we're focusing on India, we can't ignore the interconnectedness of the global economy.
We can't.
What happens in Washington or Beijing or Brussels has a ripple effect that reaches us here.
It does. It's a globalized world.
It is.
And we're all interconnected whether we like it or not.
Absolutely. All right, speaking of interconnectedness, let's dive into a topic that might seem a bit abstract, but it's incredibly relevant to everything we've been discussing, the rise of oligarchy.
Oligarchy. Okay, let's break that down a bit.
Yeah, but break that down for me. What exactly do we mean by oligarchy?
So think of it as a system where power is concentrated in the hands of a small elite, often at the expense of the majority.
Okay.
And it's not just a concern in the U.S., where former President Biden warned about it in his farewell address.
Oh, right.
It's a global phenomenon,
Yeah.
and it's something we need to be aware of in India as well.
So how does this tie into everything we've been talking about today?
Well, think about it. We've got economic anxieties, rising inequality, and a global political landscape that often feels rigged in favor of the powerful. All of this creates fertile ground for oligarchic tendencies to take root.
That's a sobering thought.
Yeah, it is.
But before we get too bogged down in the doom and gloom,
Right.
let's take a breather and talk about something a bit more uplifting, sports.
Yes, always a good antidote to the doom and gloom.
It is.
Calcutta is hosting the World Table Tennis Championship, and China's participation is particularly noteworthy. It evokes the spirit of ping-pong diplomacy,
Wait, ping-pong diplomacy.
a tactic China famously used to improve relations with other nations.
Okay, tell me more about that. I've never heard of ping-pong diplomacy.
So imagine this. Back in the 1970s, amidst the Cold War, a simple ping-pong tournament helped break the ice between the U.S. and China.
Wow.
It was a small step, but it led to a thaw in relations and eventually to the normalization of ties between the two superpowers.
Wow, that's incredible. It's a reminder that sports can be a powerful tool for building bridges, even when political relations are strained.
Absolutely. It shows that even in a world filled with complexities and challenges, there's always room for hope and human connection.
Absolutely. Okay, before we move on, let's do a quick roundup of some other notable news from the day. First up, a big shout out to the Indian women's hockey team RSPB for their recent tournament victory.
Yes, congratulations to them.
They've been on a roll, and it's inspiring to see them making their mark on the international stage.
Absolutely. Their success is a testament to their talent, dedication, and the growing strength of women's sports in India.
Now, on a more somber note, we have a disturbing incident from Ludhiana, where a factory owner was arrested after 4 women were publicly humiliated for allegedly stealing garments.
Oh, that's just awful. Imagine being paraded through the streets with your face blackened, all for an alleged petty theft. It's a shocking display of cruelty and a stark reminder of the vulnerabilities faced by many workers, especially women in informal employment settings.
Yeah, it's a clear case of exploitation and abuse of power, and it raises serious questions about labor rights and the need for greater protection for vulnerable workers.
Agreed. It's a stark reminder that even as we celebrate progress and achievements, there are still deep-seated societal issues that need to be addressed.
Absolutely. And finally, some news from the courts. The Delhi High Court has granted interim bail to Kuldeep Sengar in the Unnao rape case, a decision that has sparked controversy and calls for a re-examination of the case.
This is a sensitive and complex issue.
It is.
And it's crucial that the judicial process is allowed to run its course while ensuring justice for all parties involved.
Absolutely agreed. And in a related development, the Supreme Court has slammed the Assam government's handling of the detention of 270 foreigners at the Matia transit camp.
Yeah, the court has demanded a clear explanation for the detentions and a detailed plan for their deportation, highlighting the need for transparency and accountability in matters relating to immigration and detention.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our AI Samachar deep dive.
We have.
From tragic accidents and political maneuvering to economic anxieties and international tensions.
Yeah, we've seen how these seemingly disparate events are often interconnected, revealing larger trends and raising critical questions about the world we live in.
Absolutely. We've explored the impact of misinformation, the challenges of a slowing economy, the complexities of achieving gender parity, the perils of rising oligarchy, and even the power of sports to bridge divides.
It's been a fascinating journey so far, and there's more to come. Stay tuned as we delve deeper into these issues and uncover even more surprising insights in the next part of our deep dive. You know, as we go through the news, it's like we're witnessing a global power shift with technology at the heart of it.
Yeah, that's a really great point. Earlier, we talked about those U.S. sanctions on Russian oil, and now we're hearing about the Biden administration's move to control the export of AI chips. It feels like these technologies are becoming the new weapons in this global power struggle.
Exactly. The U.S. is trying to create this secure and trusted technology ecosystem, but it's also a move to maintain their dominance in key sectors. And it's not just about national security anymore. It's about economic power and global influence.
Right. It's like we're entering a new era of technological competition, and the stakes are incredibly high.
Yeah, they are.
But let's bring it back home for a moment. One issue that's hitting people's wallets right here in India is this rising cost of housing.
Oh, absolutely. It's a global phenomenon, but it's particularly acute in rapidly growing economies like ours. The combination of supply and demand interest rates and speculation is making it increasingly difficult for people to find affordable housing.
Yeah, it's a story we hear all too often, these dreams of owning a home being pushed further and further out of reach. So what advice would you give to those struggling to find affordable housing options?
Well, first and foremost, do your research. Understand the pricing trends in different areas, look into government schemes that might offer assistance, and don't be afraid to negotiate with builders. Knowledge is power, especially in a complex market like real estate.
Yeah, solid advice. Now let's do a rapid-fire round of some other interesting stories we came across today.
Okay, let's do it.
First up, it looks like we've got a brewing battle in the food tech world.
Oh.
The National Restaurant Association of India, or NRAI, is taking on Swiggy and Zomato over their private labeling practices.
For those who aren't familiar, these platforms are creating their own food brands and potentially undercutting the restaurants that rely on their services. The NRAI is crying foul, arguing that it's stifling competition and hurting their businesses.
Yeah, it's a classic case of disruption and the challenges of adapting to this rapidly evolving market. On the one hand, these platforms have revolutionized food delivery.
Right.
But on the other hand, they're wielding immense power that can potentially squeeze out smaller players.
It's a dilemma that we're seeing across industries as technology reshapes the business landscape.
Absolutely. Now, for a story that's a bit more uplifting, let's talk about Servify, an Indian startup specializing in after-sales services for gadgets.
Okay.
They're aiming for unicorn status, which means they're trying to hit a valuation of $1 billion.
That's pretty ambitious, but it shows the incredible potential of the Indian startup ecosystem.
It does. They're tapping into a growing market as people are becoming increasingly reliant on electronic devices and need reliable after-sales support. It's a reminder that innovation isn't just about creating new products. It's also about improving the customer experience. Speaking of innovation, there are some ambitious plans in the works to modernize India's railway network. We're talking about improved safety measures, dedicated freight corridors, and a new initiative called Amrit Bharat, aimed at enhancing passenger experience.
It's a massive undertaking, but it's crucial for a country of India's size and population. A modern and efficient railway system is not just about connectivity, it's about economic growth and improving people's lives.
Absolutely. And it seems like skills development is another key area of focus. The upcoming budget is expected to prioritize initiatives aimed at equipping the workforce with the skills needed for the 21st century job market.
That's a smart move. The world is changing rapidly, and we need to make sure our workforce is prepared for the challenges and opportunities ahead. We're talking about skills in areas like AI green technologies and advanced manufacturing sectors that are going to drive future growth.
It's about empowering people to adapt and thrive in a constantly evolving work environment. Now, with tax season just around the corner, financial experts are urging people to review their investment portfolios and make informed decisions.
Yes, they're recommending minimizing loan tenures, exploring debt management strategies, and diversifying investments across different asset classes. It's all about taking control of your finances and planning for a secure future.
And speaking of financial markets, the Indian stock market has been on a bit of a roller coaster ride lately, influenced by both domestic and global factors.
You've got investors grappling with the uncertainties surrounding Trump's policies, the strengthening dollar, and concerns about global growth. It's a volatile time, and it's a reminder that investing always involves some level of risk.
Let's not forget about the price of crude oil, which is fluctuating wildly due to those U.S. sanctions on Russian oil and geopolitical tensions in the Middle East.
It's a major concern for India, which is a major oil importer. These price swings can have a significant impact on our economy, adding another layer of complexity to an already challenging situation.
Right now, for some positive news from the financial world, the National Stock Exchange, or NSE, has seen a surge in investor registrations.
It's a sign that more and more people are becoming interested in investing, thanks in part to increased digital accessibility and government initiatives promoting financial inclusion. It's a positive trend that could lead to a more robust and participatory financial market.
And finally, a story that brings us back to the issue of gender parity. The National Medical Commission is looking to tighten the rules for hiring medical college faculty to address the problem of ghost faculty individuals who are listed as faculty but don't actually teach.
This is a step in the right direction. It's about ensuring quality education and making sure that students receive the best possible training. It's also about promoting transparency and accountability in the medical education system.
Okay, so we've gone from trade wars and AI chips to affordable housing and the intricacies of the stock market. It's been a whirlwind tour of the forces shaping India and the world today. But before we wrap up, I want to go back to something you said earlier about the rise of oligarchy.
Yes, it's a topic that deserves a deeper dive. There's this concept called the iron law of oligarchy, proposed by a German sociologist named Robert Michaels.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Michel's argued that even in democratic systems, power tends to concentrate in the hands of a few. His theory is that the very act of organizing large groups leads to a division of labor, and this inevitably creates an elite class that ends up dominating the system.
So even with the best intentions, democracies are prone to slipping into oligarchy. That's a pretty pessimistic view of human nature, isn't it?
It's not necessarily about human nature being inherently flawed. It's more about the structural challenges of maintaining truly democratic systems, especially as societies become more complex, and technology gives those in power even more tools to control and manipulate information.
That's a really thought-provoking point. And it makes me wonder if there are ways to counter this tendency to build safeguards that prevent power from becoming too concentrated.
It's a question that's worth pondering, especially as we navigate a world that's increasingly shaped by technology and global interconnectedness. But let's shift gears for a moment and look at a story that highlights a very different aspect of global relations.
Okay, where are we headed now?
Well, the World Economic Forum, which just wrapped up in Davos, Switzerland, saw leaders from various sectors calling for renewed global cooperation.
Oh, that's a welcome change from all the talk of trade wars and geopolitical tensions. It's a reminder that despite our differences, we're all facing shared challenges that require collective action.
Absolutely. From climate change to economic inequality, these are issues that transcend national borders and require a coordinated global response.
Yeah, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the complexities of the world, but it's stories like this that offer a glimmer of hope, a reminder that there are people working towards a better future.
And that brings us back to the legacy of Netaji Subhas Chandra Bose, whose birth anniversary we're commemorating today. He was a man who dared to dream of a different world, a world free from oppression and injustice. And while the world he envisioned might still be a distant goal, his spirit of courage and determination continues to inspire us to strive for a better tomorrow.
It's a powerful reminder that even in the face of adversity, even when the odds seem stacked against us, individuals have the power to make a difference.
And it's a message that resonates deeply as we look back on this day, a day filled with stories of tragedy, triumph, and the ongoing struggle to create a more just equitable and sustainable world.
Yeah, it's been a thought-provoking journey, and we're not done yet. Stay tuned for the final part of our AI Samachar deep dive, where we'll unpack even more insights and leave you with some thought-provoking questions to ponder. As we wrap up this deep dive into the day's news, I keep thinking back to Netaji's legacy and how it ties into everything we've discussed. He was a true visionary leader who dared to imagine a different future for India, a future free from colonial rule. And while we've come a long way since then, we're still grappling with many of the same fundamental challenges: inequality and justice, and the struggle to create a truly equitable society.
That's a really powerful connection. His fight wasn't just about political independence. It was about creating a society where everyone had the opportunity to thrive, regardless of their background or social standing. And that's a fight that continues today, whether it's through movements for social justice initiatives to empower women and girls, or efforts to bridge the gap between the haves and the have-nots.
And it's not just happening in India. It's a global phenomenon.
It is.
We see it in the calls for greater economic fairness and the fight against climate change and the push for more inclusive and democratic societies.
Absolutely. And while the challenges can feel overwhelming at times, it's important to remember that change is possible. Throughout history, individuals and movements have challenged the status quo and created a more just and equitable world.
Like those ping pong diplomats, right?
Exactly.
Who would have thought that a simple game could help break down barriers and pave the way for greater understanding between nations?
It's a reminder that sometimes the most unexpected actions can have a profound impact. And it's a call to action for each of us to find our own ways to contribute to positive change, whether it's in our local communities or on a global scale.
So as we conclude this AI Samachar deep dive,
Yes.
we want to leave you with a few questions to ponder. What lessons can we draw from Netaji's legacy and apply to the challenges we face today? What steps can we take individually and collectively to create a world that's more just equitable and sustainable?
You know, the news isn't just something we passively consume. It's a reflection of the world we're creating. By staying informed, engaging critically, and taking action, we can shape a future that reflects our values and aspirations.
Absolutely. And if you have any thoughts or questions you'd like to share, we'd love to hear from you.
You can reach us at theisamachar@gmail.com. We're always eager to engage in thoughtful dialogue and explore different perspectives.
Thank you for joining us on this journey of exploration and discovery. Until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and keep on diving deep. For queries and advertisements, email to theisamachar@gmail.com.